This is the plaintiff, Guy Brown. He says his neighbor disconnected his air conditioning condensers, moved and damaged them. He can't get his condo to cool down now. He's tired of sweating and is suing them for the $10,000 he certainly owed. This is the defendant, Claire Cherry. She says the plaintiff had his air conditioning unit up against her wall, and she had her workers move it and reconnect it on his wall. This guy's barking up the wrong tree if he thinks she's going to pay him $10,000 for something that works perfectly fine in its new and rightful spot. She's accused of not chilling out a neighbor.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says his nasty neighbor disconnected and then removed his air conditioning unit, and he wants $10,000. The defendant says, that the unit base is in the wrong spot on her wall, and she had to move it because the plaintiff wouldn't. It's the case of chill out.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Brown, you are suing Ms. Sherry, who owns a unit next to yours, for $10,000 to replace your AC unit. What happened?
So Claire owns a unit next to me. She hired some very sketchy people to complete some work for her. Essentially, they disconnected my unit, set my unit in the dirt.
What unit did they disconnect?
My air conditioning unit.
Okay, and where had your unit been on your property such that they walked over and were completely negligent, or was your unit on her property?
So the units are connected. It's unit 15 and unit 17. So the hookups are roughly 8 inches apart. They're at the same location.
Is it on your property or on her property?
It's a shared property. It's a condo association. I
know it's a condo association. But was it behind her house or behind your house?
It's behind both of our houses, is what I'm trying to explain to you.
So according to you, they went behind your house and did what? Tell me what they did.
They disconnected my unit, which was already there. Okay.
All right. So they disconnect your unit and do what with it?
And they sit it in the dirt. They set my unit in the dirt.
And do they put something else on the slab where your unit had been?
They put her unit there in the place of my unit.
Okay.
They put my unit in the dirt. So nothing was hooked up to my unit. Nothing was hooked up to mine.
Okay, so then what happens? What happens? What happens? Your tenant calls and says what? I have no AC?
Yes.
All right, and then what happens?
She told me that I told her to take pictures of everything. I told her to take pictures of everything that's going on, and I'm going to come by and check it out.
Okay, and did she take pictures, and did you give them to me?
That is correct. And I also went by and took pictures as well. So this is, see the two, if you go back to the previous
Who
pictures,
is standing, is this her workman standing on the slab?
That is correct. So my AC, okay, so yeah, see my
What am I looking at there?
So that's to the right of her property. That's her AC unit. There's two slabs. There's a plastic slab on top. That's where her AC unit sit on. Previously, there's underneath that plastic gray slab, that's a country slab, is where my AC unit was sitting. And you can see where it's hooked up. Now that they went in, kind of threw it back together once I said something about it. This was a few days later.
And why are you suing for $10,000 over that? How are you out $10,000? If they reconnected it, what's the problem?
Because they didn't reconnect it properly. So I hired my own air conditioner guy to come out and look at it. And he said that it was damaged.
Well, just a second. Did your air conditioner guy put something in writing about how they damaged it?
I mean, he told me.
I know that's what we call rank hearsay. I mean, this is your case. You're trying to prove that her negligent employees who she employed ruined a compressor that's, I don't know how many years old, and you're trying to get from her $10,000 for a brand new AC system over it. So you have to prove your case. So I saw an estimate for brand new ACs, you know, with all new equipment and apparently new everything, new, inside the ceiling stuff, new everything, $10,000. Woo! Okay. That's awesome. However, you're going to have to prove that the negligent men, and I'll hear from you in a second, Ms. Sherry, on whether they were even negligent, but that the negligent workers she hired actually broke it. So all you've shown me is an estimate for brand new air conditioning Where is the professional opinion that they broke it? You know, litigants come here every day and, just trust me, Judge, somebody said so. That's not evidence. Ms. Sherry, let me hear from you. What's going on with these slabs? What was the confusion? I guess you weren't there to supervise. What is it that happened?
Okay, his air condition was really behind my unit because there's a electric room that separates his unit from my unit. He is directly behind my unit, and it was a system there, but we moved it earlier.
Your own system there. I'm just curious how the mistake happens and whether, I don't know whose property it's behind. Why doesn't somebody take a picture way back so I can tell?
Okay.
What'd your guys do wrong? Your guys did something wrong.
I can show you.
All right, you can show me from the pictures. Let's look at your pictures that you submitted into evidence. Yeah, what am I looking at here?
Okay, that to the left where the security bars are, that is my unit. And to the right, that is my system. Yes, that's it. See, you see that door? Yeah. There to the right, behind his unit. That is a electrical room.
For you?
And for the whole building. Okay. That door is a little room there.
Anyway, what happened? Okay. Your guys did what? What did your guys do?
Okay, they moved his unit. They did. They moved his unit so that my unit could sit directly behind my unit. Right here on this picture, I was showing you how it should be done. This is another unit right here. It's like Mr. Brown's and mine, but you see this air condition, his unit is on the other side of that door. And that's the way his should be.
What did can you just tell me what the people you hired did? They accidentally disconnected his unit?
Well, they didn't accidentally disconnect it, but they disconnected it. They moved it over. And when I got over there, they had moved the unit.
Okay. And they moved it where?
They moved it to the slab that's by the electrical room.
He says that they put it on the ground. How long later did they reconnect it, Mr. Brown?
A few days later.
Okay. He says that they put it on the ground and they didn't even connect it until he was, angry about it.
No, ma'am, that's not really what happened. What happened is that I asked him to reconnect his unit. He said that they could reconnect it because mine wasn't connected either. They reconnected it the very next day.
Okay, here's the thing though. If they disconnected something and didn't reconnect it, they clearly made a mistake because they didn't know that belonged to a different unit. Will you agree with me on that at least, that they made a mistake?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm saying they
But now, Mr. Brown, for you to be entitled to $10,000 for a new unit is nuts because, first of all, even if they did ruin that compressor's not worth $10,000. That's what all new everything is worth, and that wouldn't be what they ruined. But second of all, before we even get to value, you have to prove to me they ruined it by disconnecting it, because disconnecting it and then connecting it the next day is an inconvenience, but it shouldn't ruin the compressor. Do you have any proof whatsoever that they ruined it by moving it? Any proof?
Well, in the paperwork that you received, the air conditioning man did clearly say that it's not working. So, I mean,
show me the document you want me to look at.
Okay, I think it's called the estimate or something.
Yes, I know. And what you have an estimate for is installation of a new HVAC system, which is kind of greedy. And it says removed old air handler unit and air conditioning system. Nothing here says that your old stuff is anything but antiquated. It doesn't say that it got ruined by being moved. Look, court is about making you whole. You have to prove that the other side hurt you and how much they hurt you. And that's what you get. You don't get like a coincidence such as, oh my gosh, they were on the property and then they moved your unit thinking it was hers and woo, I get a $10,000 new whole AC system all over my head. That's not how it works. Why would I make this lady pay you $10,000? You haven't even been able to prove that anything her people did anything but inconvenience you. I'm ruling in favor of the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the defendant prevails in this case. Mr. Brown, who was suing for $10,000, doesn't even get a penny. Mr. Brown, what are you thinking?
I think it was unfair. I don't see how the judge could come to that verdict based on the evidence.
Well, I'm sorry, but you just couldn't prevail, and that's the way the judges decided. Ms. Cherry, let me ask you how you feel about the outcome of the case. I would imagine you're a little relieved, aren't you?
Well, I wasn't uptight about it because I knew he couldn't win this because it was nothing done to his unit except reconnected, and it was working when I left, and she wasn't using it anyway. She had a fan in the window. So I feel real good. The judge made the correct decision.
Judge made the right decision. I'm sure you feel that way. All right, good enough. Congratulations. How about that, Harvey?
Okay, Doug, even if the plaintiff had won this case, the plaintiff suing for $10,000, here's the deal. When somebody damages your property, you are not entitled to replacement value. You are entitled to the depreciated value of the unit at the time of the loss, and that ain't going to be anywhere near 10 grand.
Name a trend or culture that has died out that you wish would come back.
80s hair.
80s hair.
80s hair.
The big hair.
The big hair.
All right, and we have a modest example right here.
Look how young we were, geez. But I miss the big hair. Every time I sit down with a hairdresser, I say, well, I really want this feather. And they'll go, uh-huh. And then they'll do whatever they want that's more modern than doing the actual feathering that I really want. And I just want it back. I want back my perm. I want 80s hair back.
What about the shoulder pads and all that?
Shoulder pads were not, they do make your hips look slimmer. So that might be nice. But honestly, I'd be satisfied with the 80s hair.
All right, here's what I would bring back, okay? Playgrounds from when I was a kid, the dangerous kind, okay?
The kind that killed you.
I want the ones with the metal monkey bars that go way up in the air where, every step you take, if you screw up, you're probably going to get hurt real bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Why
I want
would you want that back?
The high aluminum slide that on a summer day, if you touch it, it'll fry an egg on it. But, at the right time, they were great, right? They were super fun. I want the rusty merry-go-round that you jump on and jump off of that's kind of a little bit treacherous. I want the seesaw. Where are the seesaws?
Where my back problems come from. Like, that's ridiculous. You know how many times my brother would jump off and let me go? I mean, these are terrible things.
I love them. There's an element of risk. You've got speed, you've got heights. And nowadays, we've taken all the fun out of the playgrounds. You go there, everything's all rubber and plastic.
I think you're remembering this with a lot of romance because when you had children who were on the playground, you really enjoyed
I wanted to wrap them in bubble wrap.
You wanted to wrap them in bubble wrap, and you really enjoyed the melted rubber stuff that they would fall on instead of concrete.
Listen, I still say we're doing our kids a disservice. We've taken the fun out of the playgrounds, and there's lessons that you learn there from falling down and breaking your arm
or getting a third-degree burn.
Right. You learn lessons about risk-taking and about you conquer your fears. Getting up on top of the slide, all that stuff. So bring it back, please. The dangerous playgrounds.